which is also an interesting match. But right now, Boomie versus Addymestic, we're going to be getting into it. It is going to be our first best of 5 of the day. And Boomie's coming in with this Wushang, interestingly enough. He was playing Diana earlier, and then he swapped over to Bodvar for a little bit. Addy, no surprises that he's on that Val with those gauntlets.
I haven't really seen Boomie play Wushang in quite some time. Like when I was looking back at all of the characters he's chosen, or at least that were reported on Smash GG over the past year, Wushang is not one of them. He has like 8 or 9 characters that he's been playing, but Wushang was definitely not one of them. So this might be a little bit of a surprise, and that's a surprise as well. Boomie losing that stock so early. That's huge for Addymestic. We saw that earlier in pools as well.
That's what
his offstage play with gauntlets, and this is like vintage Addy back when he was the only one playing gauntlets. And we could see a quick turnaround. Boomie's not going to be afraid to go off stage, even unarmed, at the weapon disadvantage against Addymestic after he just got gimped.
Addy slightly mispositioned, though. He had the recovery, but he ends up bonking his head. But I do want to commend the ground pound gameplay from Addymestic. That's what we saw in the pools earlier today, is he was just hitting those ground pounds and taking stocks. Like, he would be behind, and then he'd just come out and hit 2 ground pounds in a row and completely destroy a stock. Might see a lot of that as Addy's trying to get it again, but Boomie gets above him with those dares.
A lot of great unpredictable movement. Not a lot of damage coming out between these two. It's hard to predict the movement. They're initiating with attacks instead of dodging in and waiting to see where the other one is before they attack. Nice neutral light from Boomie. He doesn't get the downlight after the chase dodge.
Boomie is getting a lot of these stacked hits, going for a lot of those dares, expecting Addy to be underneath him. We might see Addy kind of change up his playstyle and go for more aerial play, but that's good for Boomie. Addy being in the air, there's not a lot of options for gauntlets. He can maybe get a nair and try to chase afterwards with some sort of ground pound, but for the most part, the big gauntlet plays, that comes off of a sidelight. Sidelight, you have to hit grounded. He could go for a gravity cancel sidelight, but even then, that's burning one of his follow-up options off the sidelight.
And on the side of Boomie, if Addy ends up getting close enough to him to be in range for gauntlets, Boomie throws out that spear nair. He doesn't even have to be really precise with it. As long as the timing is okay,
he's got that bubble.
It's a 360-degree hitbox.
But Addy, again, the aerial play, that edge guard play from Addy is so clean. Ends up picking up a dare above Boomie. Boomie was unarmed, trying to just get back up past Addy, but Boomie not overcommitting into just like going straight up.
And it's interesting that even though Addy was able to get that really, really quick kill with that sword, the second he picked it up, he still opted to throw it away and pick up the gauntlets. And I don't even think it was just to weapon starve Boomie for that moment. It was to go back to those gauntlets. And we kind of saw a little bit of that weapon-specific choosing between him when he was playing against Crocky earlier, just based on pure weapon matchups. Crocky was wanting to play guns into gauntlets and then spear into sword.
Yeah, I can see him wanting the decision making behind it. Spear generally does all right against sword. Blasters, you can try to outspace gauntlets, but if Addy gets inside of that dead zone, then gauntlets can just absolutely string the blasters around. So it is a little bit of an interesting decision from Crocky, but currently going, Boomie has essentially a mirror match in the double gauntlets, or he'll just play the spear out. Wushang, one of the strongest spear characters, but there's the ground pounds again coming from Addy. Nice movement. What's the finisher? Addy can't touch!
Boomie doing a great job staying just enough to the right in that push-off column. He didn't tunnel vision into the wall, which is what Addy expected him to do. So by staying right up against that wall while Boomie was outside of it, he ended up getting below. Great timing on that dare, by the way. He didn't go for the weapon toss with the wide hitbox. He placed that so perfectly and with incredible timing, like right when Addy was below him to where he would get hit with that. Fantastic timing and placement from Boomie. Boomie off stage, when he's playing at his best, is truly one of my favorite players to watch off stage. He's able to get away with so many ridiculous things. He's able to somehow have more jumps than anyone else in the world. He's able to delay his time going back to the wall longer than like anybody else that I've seen. He was one of like the few gun players who really used side air on guns off the wall better than anybody else.
He is so incredibly comfortable off stage. He'll push the offstage play, go underneath the map, just dance around all of that, and be completely comfortable, be completely fine, not even worry about the fact that wall slip might be coming out in 1 or 2 exclamation points. But again, back to the spear. It seems like that's what he wants for this matchup, is that spear play. He has the gauntlets if he needs it, but generally he's looking for that spear play. Not sure what specifically about Wushang's spear he's looking for, aside from maybe like some stat lines, because the one signature he's been using is that down signature, and he really hasn't been hitting it. Addy's been able to punish every single one of them.
I mean, maybe it's not Wushang's spear specifically, but spear's kind of similar to sword. It has a little bit more range, but then it lacks a little bit in terms of like startup frames and recovery frames. So that's where they kind of differ, but it still has a very utilitarian kit. It still has a good move for like every situation. If your opponent is directly below you, sword has dare, spear has dare. Both incredibly strong reaching weapons, good kill options. If they're stacked with you, nair's a great option, recovery a great option on sword. Meanwhile, nair's a great option on spear as well. There's a lot of utility within the kit. You don't necessarily build up damage as quick as like guns can possibly, or maybe gauntlets or katars, but there's still so much utility within the kit. And so it looks like he wants to play spear into sword specifically for the range benefit, where he's going to suffer a little bit in terms of startup frames. If he spaces correctly, it's not going to be an issue.
Well, then he's got the gauntlets for the mirror matchup against Addy. That's a bold decision, considering Addy's one of the few players who's really stuck with gauntlets. But it's working out for Boomie all right. He's been able to trade relatively efficiently, but there's that Val side signature, a very popular kill option. You see it a lot with the gauntlets. You're starting to see it more frequently with the sword, but that's just such a common kill option for Vals. And
we might be seeing a little bit of that lack of experience coming out in this game too, as Addymestic has 2 stocks compared to Boomie's 1. Now, Addy is in the orange, but that's basically halfway to kill percent at this point. And the way Boomie's been hitting these signatures, it hasn't been great. It's been that really, really well-placed offstage dare that took away Addy's first stock here. So if he doesn't get that, then his kill potential so far, based on what we've seen, is relatively low.
Well, he's going to swap over to the gauntlets for whatever kill potential he can find. There's the...
the blast. Channeling his inner Multimum, using that down signature, getting the absolute edge of that AoE blast that Addy didn't think would reach that far. You saw him standing
like, did he deer in the headlights there and just complete panic mode? I'm not sure, but he ended up getting caught by that blast from the down signature and ends up shaking his head a little bit, but he's still got a significant health lead. Definitely has a real possibility of finishing out this game and getting to that game 3.
One more recovery will do it with that high kill ceiling of Great Hall. Boomie is in the red. I think he just didn't expect it to go that far. I don't think he thought Boomie had the range there, and he was just waiting to punish it. There's the downlight into the side sig. Not really.
True? You don't see that a lot.
There's no way it is, or somebody would have figured that out by now.
Because usually in that situation, it's downlight, chase, dodge, recovery.
Yep.
That's the common option if you're going to start with the downlight. Or you go for the downlight, sidelight.
Yep, that's the other one.
Wait. Try to punish
and
a
you
dodge.
do like the gravity cancel sound sidelight the same way or the other way, or you just wait for the dodge and then go for a jump recovery or something like that.
Delayed recovery.
That's definitely not a popular option that we've seen from Val players. Obviously, you see the raw side signature quite a bit, but never quite used in that way. So that's interesting. We haven't seen that from Addymestic so far. We didn't see it in 2s, and we didn't see it in pools either today. So
keeping that hidden tech.
That's interesting. I wonder if we're going to see that going forward. I'd really like to know the frame data on that.
But we are seeing Boomie swap over to this Koji. Wants to keep that dexterity going. Completely different weapon set, but he will still have a lot of dexterity in that kit. He's going to be having that bow, which is a weapon that he used on his Diana. And he's been a consistent sword player through and through. He's got a lot of characters in his pool, so not too surprising to see him swap over to this Koji.
Addy with a nice side air on the wall. The weapon toss just barely going under Boomie. Nice neutral light. He's going to continue to chase off stage with a side air. It does end up missing. Addy does. Ooh.
Whiffs the punish, but he's still going to pick up that side signature. Boomie caught in recovery frames, oddly enough, for such a high dexterity character. I believe he prefers the 9 dex stance on the Koji as well. He is going to get that downlight gravity cancel neutral sig. Not quite enough damage on Addy, but that is an unarmed kill option that Boomie is a big fan of. Generally, that's what he'll go for. He won't go for that downlight ground pound too often, or the downlight recovery.
Yeah, it is usually that unarmed neutral heavy that he's been going for. I think we've seen him hit that more at Shine than any other player so far. Other players kind of use it as their last-ditch effort if there's no weapon spawns and they need to get the kill there and they have the option to hit the downlight. But Boomie seems just really comfortable using that as one of his just bag of tricks whenever he needs it.
Ooh, interesting sidelight into a chase dodge neutral light from Boomie. Changing up the follow-ups off the sideline, as the sidelight downlight is not true. And he would have to burn a dodge, so he just ends up going for the dodge read from Addy and picking up that neutral light. Just some interesting follow-ups from Boomie's bow play.
Look at how sweet Boomie's positioning is on all of this. Even if he whiffs his first move, he's so precise with that like defensive neutral light that a lot of sword players do. He just positions it so well and times it so well. He's constantly throwing out attacks. He's initiating with attacks, and he's still able to stay safe and defensive in that moment. Addy does pick up that neutral signature, getting just a little bit of a lead.
That's a really good spot for Addy to have picked it up. Generally speaking, you see it on stage, and it's not too hot in the sense that the force vector is at that kind of odd angle where it'll go towards the corner and kind of the farthest distance to travel for the kill. But since Addy picked it up high in the sky, it's got slightly less distance to travel to get Boomie into that kill box. Oh, but he goes for it again on stage, just kind of trying to get some damage. Oh! He just fell into the side sig.
Yep, that charged up side signature is going to do it. And you saw right after Boomie spawned, he immediately went for that downlight, probably into that gravity cancel neutral heavy again. He is so comfortable with that. You saw him pacing back and forth, trying to find the perfect positioning and timing for it. He wasn't going to tunnel vision for that weapon, and it ended up clashing, so he didn't get it in the process. And then he ended up taking so much damage from Addy's sword. The neutral game resets after Boomie respawned from Addy's sword was so good. He was able to immediately reset those dodge circles and put out so much damage.
Boomie's got some really good movement around Addymestic, but Addymestic's gauntlet play has just been so on point. He's got this nice fallback of the sword, which has generally been kind of a kill option for him, but the gauntlet neutral game from Addymestic, the gauntlet string damage is just so consistent. He doesn't even necessarily need those big strings that we see from like Stevenator, right? Where he'll go for the side light, recovery. Go for the side light, recovery, dare to punish a dodge down. You don't see that coming out from Addymestic. Instead, he'll either shove you off stage and go for the double ground pound for the quick kill, or I'm distracted by Boomie's pick of an Artemis. Because this is not a character that I would have said was in his pool.
Sure, yeah,
he's got a gigantic pool.
No, I mean, he's been working on this Artemis. We haven't really seen it that much in tournaments, but I know he's definitely been playing Artemis. When I would scrim customs with him, he played a lot of Artemis, and I respect the heck out of his Artemis. His Scythe is strong. Obviously, you've seen him carry people around the map with guns. He's able to do that with Scythe as well. Traditionally, the matchup is going to clip the corner. He ends up clipping the corner. Oh, Addy. So well perfect with that.
Because Boomie could have stared to the wall, so Addy had to go over there, finish that stock off. Really well played from Addy.
Traditionally, though, Addymestic, obviously he did win, so he had to lock in his character first.
Okay.
So he's going to have to play the Gauntlets into the Lance matchup, which traditionally people tend to agree that Gauntlets have a really rough matchup against Lance. I don't know how much Boomie's going to focus on the Lance. Obviously, he did fall very, very early, so it doesn't look like Addy's really too stressed out over that or really trying to avoid that interaction between the two. So he's just playing really, really strong right now, and actually Boomie's Artemis is kind of looking a lot weaker than I would have expected.
Yeah, well, the one time that Boomie was on the Lance, it was in kind of the situation where the one situation where Lance would do bad in that matchup, which is to say that where the gauntlets are above it and the Lance is on the edge, because Lance generally does not have the best anti-upward attack.
Yep.
And Gauntlet Ground Pound is so effective. That's one of those things that Lance back in the day, when we first started talking about the Gauntlet versus Lance matchup, Lance was like, Gauntlet Ground Pound can be devastating against Lance. It's just a matter of positioning it properly. And that's what we saw from Addy in that specific situation is he just got above Boomie and went for those ground pounds.
It's throwing up. That's the only obviously not puking, but I mean
literally
physically up throwing your weapon into the air. That's where Aiden Pierce, that's where that huge meme came from, because he would always throw the Lance up into the unarmed uppercut and then pick up his weapon. Boomie is struggling here though.
He did manage to even up the stocks, is slightly damaged against Addymestic, a little bit more than slight, but he's doing a solid job. There's a real opportunity if Addy goes for these big commitments off stage that Boomie could get a turnaround with this Scythe. We saw earlier Addy went for a very deep ground pound and Boomie almost got the turnaround dare, but didn't quite get the stock finisher. If Addy overcommits, there's possibilities, but again, a side air kill from Addymestic. Sticking with the gauntlets.
Keep in mind, this is a best of 5 in the winner's bracket. Addy is up 2-1 right now. So losing this set for Boomie, it would put Boomie into the loser's bracket, so he wouldn't be out of the tournament yet. But Addy is just performing so well right now into matchups that he statistically should not be winning if the two players are equal. He's just playing so well today, putting the aggression onto Boomie.
And he's doing such a good job of punishing Boomie's attempt at defense, right? Boomie was trying to go to that island. You saw him trying to play very defensively on that corner, and Addy was literally grabbing him off that corner with Sayers and Nares, pulling him down, saying, you have to come back and fight me. And he was doing such a good job. Boomie is going to get the stock finisher after a solid Scythe string, finishes it off with that Lance side air, but it's really about the Scythe with his Artemis.
You see Addy taking a drink of water the second he died. He's trying to guzzle as much as he can, stay hydrated. There's the side air from Addy. The side signature missing, though. There's the side light into the neutral light. He has the dodge. Is he going to get any damage in the process? That's what you have to be worried about. Boomie is going to be a player with the sight that is going to take you from white to orange if he gets your dodge. It's not going to be like a Tropheus where he goes for the 2 and 3 hit strings.
But Boomie's got to start reading these dodges properly. There was a very real opportunity where Addy straight up dodged into the site. That's after a side light. That is such a risky play to do. But Boomie was reading that dodge up that Addy had done previously. Ended up jumping up, but ground pounds.
Oh, just barely.
That'll
and the
do
dare from Addymestic. You see him clapping. He is going to be moving on. Respect for both of these players. Boomie almost was able to bring that back. He was able to put some serious damage out. When he took away Addy's second stock, his flow from that recovery on the scythe, sending Addy to the left side, picking up the lance, and then following with a side air, that was just so smooth. That is a flow that I think Boomie's play has that I don't know if there's anybody else who quite has that type of flow. A lot of respect for Boomie, but Addymestic, like, holy crap, man. In Brawl League Masters and Summer Championship, Addy tied for 5th. Like,